clear, sir. Go ahead.
Excellent, excellent. So, a few years back, I took in my two nieces. They were with their mother, drugs, a bunch of different things. I once was in foster care. I saw it as an opportunity to help. I took in my niece, eventually adopted her. The other one was rebellious, didn't listen.
William from New York. William, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Both. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear, sir. Go ahead.
Excellent, excellent. So, a few years back, I took in my two nieces. They were with their mother, drugs, a bunch of different things. I once was in foster care. I saw it as an opportunity to help. I took in my niece, eventually adopted her. The other one was rebellious, didn't listen. Ultimately, she left the home. Years later, I decided to take in my nephew through kinship. I was first told that there was a problem through that agency. They looked at the records and said, okay, you're okay. Okay? They allowed me to take in to take in my nephew. Um, the foster worker, once he got into the home, asked to search my entire house, even though, I only had one apartment we were living in, and the other, um, you know, apartments were not open. We were about to rent them out, but I was considering converting and maybe, having more space to adopt more kids. They insisted on seeing the entire house. She called the supervisor. The supervisor told me if I don't allow them to see the entire house, even if tenants are living in there, that would be a problem. No problem. I'll let them see the entire house. From there, I feel like it was an issue. Okay, so I took in my nephew. He stayed here, no problem. His grades skyrocketed. Everything just went great for him. He was doing really well. A few months later, a cousin calls me and tells me that she knows someone who's, a child, and she has a child, and her parents are abusive, drugs, gangs, all these different things. I'm like, okay, I got a big house. I can allow them to stay. They came, they stayed here. After a few weeks, the honeymoon ended. She was rude, disrespectful, started making threats, telling me if I don't allow her boyfriend to spend the night and her to go see her father, which I was told by them, CPS, that she couldn't, that she would make my life a living hell. I immediately put in my 30 days. I'm not going to do that. Literally, right after that, 2 days later, CPS knocks on my door telling me I'm under investigation for having cameras in my house. Cameras that they knew about. Cameras in the hallway, cameras on the outside. I also do a YouTube show. I have a recording studio. Right, so that's what it was. After 30 days, they said they would close the case. It was an ad info case. The next day, after the 30 days, they told me everything was going to close. And the next day, someone came and said, oh, now there's a new investigation. Apparently, you're escorting women to cars, and random cars are pulling up and coming in and out of your house. I'm like, okay, here we go. The next day after that, they came and they removed my nephew, tore my family to shreds, damaged my identity in terms of being a person to help my family. My family has been ravaged by foster care and drug addiction. So to be able to get my life together and be able to help is a staple of who I am. So they took him out the house. A day after that, my car was stolen, right? A week after that, they came to my home with the police. I asked the police to stay outside respectfully. The worker who had been coming back and forth since I'd had my nephew allowed him to come in, go out, no problem. Recently, I filed for a foster boarding review, which was to allow him to come back, and I filed for a fair hearing. So I guess that's to catch you up. I still have my own children now, and they're coming by asking to see them. Their grades are incredible. They're well kept and well taken care of. I believe it's a vendetta with the foster agency because of the prior when I had my niece in, and they had kind of bottomed out in terms of management. All top management was fired, and there was one person left over, the same person who advocated for my niece to leave my home. Since she left my home, it's been 4 years. She's still in the same grade she was in when she left. Her sister, who I adopted, is in college. She's thriving. So she kind of used the system against me. I was able to get back there and then help again, and now because of this situation, this This girl got allowed into my house with her child. She was upset that I pretty much told her she couldn't stay. I'm not going to just do what you want. And it's like they're using her false accusations to hurt me, and I've told them multiple times about the issues I was having. They heard her make the threats, how she's going to do all these different things to me, and nothing. So I just think it's a personal thing where now I'm dealing with them, on top of this.
Yeah, it sometimes gets personal, William. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate, considering, like I said, a huge part of what I want to do is help people, and I don't want to stop doing this, right? But now when my own children are on the line, it shakes you to your core. It doesn't change who I am and what I want to do. So I guess ultimately my question for you is, how do you suggest I proceed with this internal conflict with the agency, which they kind of ponied it off on CPS to blame them? In reality, I sent an email asking to address the issue that happened in 2017 with my niece who had left here. 2 days after that, suddenly this accusation happens. There's just so many things that happened prior where it's almost blatantly intentional from the agency. They're making it obvious, hey, listen, you want to be a loudmouth and you want to be a good parent, we don't advocate, we don't help those. We help those people who nod their heads and take the check.
Well, William, this is what I would suggest that you do. I would suggest that you find a lawyer in your area that deals with civil rights violations, because it sounds like the agency and or CPS might have, violated your civil rights under federal law, perhaps under state law.
Also, I was wondering maybe personal involvement kind of in the issue as well, instead of just the case, the department itself, maybe it's in a personal involvement case for him as well as a civil rights issue for him. What is that something that's, is that a saying, Vince?
Well, kind of, but I still think he should start with, talking to a civil rights attorney in his area and getting some, legal advice about what he can do, if anything. You said 2017. There's something called a statute of limitations in every state that limits the time that you can sue someone or a governmental entity. So, William, you definitely want to start there and speak to an attorney before spinning any wheels.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw that. Right. Actually, on the parent-teacher thing, whatever, not parent-teacher, but the parent conference where you actually talk to the agency once they file a complaint, she started the conversation by telling me how horrible I was and why would you have a camera in the home and you're a man and this person's a female. It was just really biased. It was, I think it was, gender-based. It was just, and I filed the complaint. I filed as many complaints as I could, Department of Justice, Department of everywhere I could find. The foster care, the fostering certification board, I put in as many complaints as I possibly could about that bias treatment. I think I'm kind of.
Well, did you call their ombudsman?
Excuse me?
They have an ombudsman. The ombudsman office, would that be a good direction for him to go? No?
Well, remember, Aaron, he's in New York. We're in California. They don't necessarily...
Oh, I thought he was in Sacramento. I see. Okay.
Don't necessarily have the same things. But, William, the type of complaint that I was talking about is a complaint in the United States District Court. It's a lawsuit. The complaints that you just named out are administrative complaints, and these things are much different. Okay? So filing administrative complaints doesn't save you or doesn't give you additional time usually to file a complaint, a lawsuit in the United States District Court for civil rights violations. That's why I said it's really important that you go and talk with an attorney as soon as possible. William, do me a favor. In the next 3 or 4 weeks, I want you to call us back and give us an update on what's going on with your complaint, or, did you ever get any satisfaction or any justice? And just keep us informed, give us an update. William, I want to thank you for calling and thank you for listening. All right. I see that we have Paul on the line. So when we come back from these messages, we'll be talking to Paul Wallen, one of the expert CPS attorneys here in the state of California. So we'll be back right after these messages.